evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to One Hub Racing Season 26. We had a fantastic race last time out at Imola, and we're going to do it all over again in Jeddah, Corniche circuit for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And we've got a bit of spicy weather to spice things up. We'll find out a little bit more about that just a little bit later on. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me once again, it is Mr. Jacob. Jack, how are you doing?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much, Jess. I'm looking forward to this one. But as I say, Jeddah, I said last week, one of my favourite tracks. So I'm just to spectate and to race on. So I cannot wait to see how this is going to go down for this evening. I'm pretty excited for this one.
I'm excited for this as well. It is always an absolute treat in One Hub Racing. The last time we were here, season 23 in the middle of January, which was quite early on in the year last year. And P1 tier, it was won by Aiden, of course, once we were here. 25 laps away, our drivers, 27 turns, 16 to the left, 11 to the right. And, Jack, for the first time this season, towards the end of the race, due to our adaptive weather system, we are going to get a little bit of rain. How is that going to affect our drivers?
Oh, that's going to be fantastic. There's not going to be, well, anybody that's raced Jeddah, you probably see rain on there maybe once in a blue moon. So to see that this evening, I think is going to be very, very interesting. A lot of drivers they're not going to know how to adapt with that, especially, as I say, around Jeddah. I mean, Saudi Arabia is usually quite dry anyway, so to see rain around this circuit, I think is going to spice things up. And a lot of drivers are going to have to maybe adapt their strategy, maybe what they were thinking of doing, maybe like medium to hards or softs or whatever. And now going to have to try and change some of that around. Whether the rain actually takes any impact on their tyres or not is going to be a different story.
And we thought that one of the incidents after the safety car restart was a bit of chaos, but we're going to get even more chaos with the rain later on. But we've had one incident that came through in the Stewards report last week, and that was the infamous four-wide incident that you've probably seen on our socials between Casper, Lakitu, Craggy and Entity. And it was decided, due to One Hub Racing Regulation 14, that it was no further action. They're all saying more than 3 cars into a corner usually doesn't go. The stewards will do their best to apportion blame, but in most cases, a racing incident will usually be the result. So what happened? Casper goes alongside Lakitu and Entity, making it 3 wide. Craggy goes on the inside, making it 4 wide. And Craggy tried to go alongside to make sure there's enough room for 4 cars. However, the track then narrows, causing the drivers to bunch out, and then there was inevitable contact, and at any point no driver backed out of the situation, and the stewards gave it no further action. I thought it would have been a penalty for one of the drivers, maybe Craggy potentially, but the stewards decided that it wasn't going to be the case, and there was a little bit of rivalries that went on between Lakitu and Casper based on those results. They were called into the press office, and they were both involved in the incident. And they were asked, what are your thoughts on the incident? In your opinion, was somebody primarily at fault, or do you agree with it being a racing incident? Lakitu was saying to us that it's in the past, no bad blood with anyone from my side, so he's focusing on Jeddah. Casper, on the other hand, no comment, he said. Literally, no comment. What do you think of that?
I think there's going to be some spice this season from the sounds of things. I don't think it's just going to be Casper and Lakitu, so I think... I think we're going to have some absolute fun this season, Jess. Not just between Casper and Lakitu, as I say. I think a few drivers, like you say, Craggy and Entity, were involved in that incident last week. You got the 2 Mercs of Senna and Casper looking pretty quick already. The same with the Aston Martins of both Lakitu and Craggy. You know, they were up there last week as well. Obviously, other than that incident, and they're both for the Williams as well. So there's 3 teams. I think some rivalries are definitely going to be formed for this season, and we love to see that. You know, it'd be boring if there was not going to be any rivalries, if there wasn't going to be any bad blood, shall we say, between any other drivers. Even though it is supposed to be a bit of fun, it's always nice having a little bit of added spice with that. So I can't wait to see this for the rest of the season. I definitely think it's going to be a season to remember for One Hub, in my opinion, for the B1 side, I reckon.
I think it's going to be more rivalries this year because, of course, we've got quicker drivers and we got people that are pretty much determined to make amends of what happened in Imola and want to avoid what's happened in Imola. And with Jeddah being so high speed, there is going to be a cause for concern from some drivers. But after this year's results, what does that do with the standings? Well, absolutely nothing. The standings look exactly the same as to what we saw with the results last week. Senna, with a superb result, dominated that race, leads the championship, maximum points, 21 points over Craggy in P2 with a really astonishing result for him. He was lucky that it was a racing incident. Then we had Marco in third, Kieran, who was on 29 lap-old hards. He finished there in P4 and did very well in the Driver of the Day poll as well. So I have to say, Craggy and Kieran, my 2 stars of that race, considering the fact that they managed to get their tyres for so long. Obviously, they can't do that today, because if we get safety cars, it's inevitable that we're going to get some rain.
Yeah, no, 100%. So let's see if this guys can keep it a little bit cleaner than last week, especially the fact that there are walls that are quite tight around Jeddah. I'm sure that we will see a bit of extra clean racing this time around. However, never say never, because I'm sure there's going to be a few incidents that happen, especially when that rain does start chucking it down. And I know at least maybe one safety car is inevitable around Jeddah. So I suppose we'll wait and see for that when that does happen. But yeah, I think like you say last week, there was only really 2 drivers that I thought, deserved at least the driver of the day. Of course, Senna,
Yes,
absolutely dominated that race. Yesterday, dominated that race last week, and same with Kieran. The fact that he managed to take those hard tyres all the way to the end of the race, despite a numerous amount of safety cars after all of that, he just kept his nose clean, and that's what you need to do, and that's exactly what I said you need to do at the start of the season. Kieran's already proved that in just the first round, so hopefully a few more drivers are going to follow in his steps. Again, Senna was another one of those that also kept it and kept himself out of trouble, kept it clean, and it's paying off for him, or it paid off for him in the first race. And I'll be honest with you, I think it's going to pay off for him again in this race. I've put my predictions for what I think the top 3 are going to be before qualifying, before anything. And I'm going to go straight out on the limb and say it right now. I reckon we're going to get a bit of a redemption from one of those Mercs, not Senna, from Casper. I've seen what he can be like around this circuit, and I think he is going to be the one to take the win for this evening around Jeddah. The second place, I have said it's going to be Marco. And for third, it's going to be the other Mercedes of Senna. I think we're going to see a Williams Mercedes for this evening. I don't know if you want to give any early predictions for this race.
I had a bit of a think of the prediction. It's quite similar to what you suggested, but I think Senna's gonna be top 3 somehow. I think Senna's gonna be P2. I think it's gonna be a Merc 1-2. I think it's going to be Casper, Senna, and then Marco P3. That's going to be my predictions before qualifying. So if I change that prediction, then you guys can pretty much have a go at me in the chat, either on Twitch or on YouTube or whatever. So those are your driver standings, as you can see at the moment. Of course, we had 2 DNFs from Nick and M125 as well, and quite a few other drivers did not score points. The constructor standings looking very close, and probably one of the closest we've seen in both tiers. The top 3 teams, all top of the standings, Jack, with 22 points. This constructor's going to get tasty.
As I said, let the blood buff flow. Honestly, I cannot wait for this season, and I think it's only going to get spicier from here. I know it's only just been the one race, 22 points. If we have something similar to pretty much every single race that goes on, yeah, I think all the way to the end of the season, it's going to be chaos. And anyone that knows me, I do love a bit of chaos. So
we do.
We'll see how that does happen throughout the season, but I think we are loading into qualifying here, Jess. And,
yes, we are.
I don't know. Any early prediction on who you think is going to qualify on pole? Who you think might be a bit of a letdown?
I think it's quite a tough one, but I'm going to stick with my guns with who's going to get the race win compared to pole. I think it's going to be Casper. Casper tends to be very good in the dry and the wet conditions. So I'm going to stick to my guns here. I think Casper is going to go for the win tonight. So there we go. So we are about to load in to qualifying, and we have got the reason why I'm showing this graphic. We thought we weren't going to show you this graphic, but we have got engine penalties. Yes, engine penalties for 2 of our drivers. One driver has also opted to go for a gearbox penalty. I think one of them is just going for an engine. So, yes, that is good for that front. So Jason is taking a new engine. So that will be a 10-place grid penalty for him. And then we've got Kieran, who's going to be taking both his gearbox and his engine penalty, which means we'll get a 15-second time penalty. Of course, they can go and do their quali lap, but in the race, they'll be starting near the back of the grid. But I'm a bit surprised those two are doing their engine penalties now and gearbox penalties now, because they can't get to the end. But if you miss a race, you can do it.
Yeah, I suppose you can. I was just about to try and calculate as to how many laps there are, because it's 320 laps for both engine and gearbox.
25 laps tonight.
Yeah. So for the rest of it throughout the season, I'm intrigued to see how that's going to play out. Taking it very early, I'm surprised no one wanted to try and take it in at least maybe one of the sprint races for either the engine or gearbox. But for the rest of them, yeah, I mean, Jeddah is a bit of an interesting one because, like I say, it's quite tight around Jeddah. I suppose they're the ones that are racing, not myself. It's their choice. We'll see how it plays out. It might play out very well into their hands by the time it comes towards the end of the season, or it might come back to bite them. And I get the feeling it might be the latter. But again, hopefully they prove me wrong.
I hope so too. But I think, though, Jack, we should get on to some qualifying. We've got 18 drivers out there on the circuit right now, and we are about to get going if my stream deck decides to work this week. There we go. My stream deck does decide to work this week. So I think we've got a few missing drivers. M125 can't make it tonight, and I can't remember who else can't make it tonight, but I will have a look at that just a little bit later on. But like I was saying earlier, 27 turns await our drivers, and the drivers have been asked quite considerably in the press about what they thought of the track and whether they thought it was going to be a pad or a wheel track. Pretty much the majority of drivers who spoke to us in the media booth has said that it is going to be a wheel track, I think. I agree with that, because the corners are just so narrow, tight, and you've got to carry so much speed and precision. If you were doing your pre-race interviews, Jack, what would you have chosen? Would you have said a wheel track or a pad track?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, it's a not a pad track, sorry, a wheel track. Especially the S section in the first sector. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, it is a wheel track, and I think Entity's probably proven that at the moment. He's going for a run on a set of the medium tyres. Oshin's also managed to just get himself into the session. So 19 drivers out of the full 20 is nice to see. Marco already out of qualifying.
So Marco, I think, let me see if I could go on board with someone. I think it's hard to tell. It looked like in the just before the S's section. As Entity's done a 129.2 on the medium compounded tyres. Now that is impressive. So Marco, who did really well last week in his debut in Imola, well, he's going to take no further part. And Senna just laid a marker there, Jack. 127.7 already, and we're not even hit the end of qualifying yet.
We've not even hit the first 5 minutes of qualifying yet, and he's already pulling out a time like that. So lovely done to Senna. A lot of other drivers are putting in their lap times now. Axelok up into second with a 128.1. Lukey as well, a 28.6. Craggy just come across the line at 28.3. Same with Callum and Armed as well. A few other guys are out on laps at the moment, as Jonas Albrecht also coming across the line at 29.5. Same with Beret, same with Escargo. Kieran has put a lap on the board. Oh yeah, sorry, you can still do that with engine penalties. So that's fine. A 132.0 for Kieran. So I'm sure we'll see an improvement of a lap from himself on that. Nick, the good old Sweat is currently out on a lap at this current moment. He's got his teammate just in front of him. Maybe Lukey offering to give him a little bit of slipstream as they're going through the fast S's is what I'd like to call it. And yeah, it definitely looks like his teammate is going to try and give him a bit of extra slipstream for that. DRS now going to be enabled for Nick as he comes up towards the end of the second sector. What lap time is it going to show? It's a 101.2 so far throughout the second sector. Now going to continue to get extra bit of slipstream from his teammate. DRS now going to be enabled in towards the third sector, makes his way up towards the final hairpin of the circuit, and we're going to see he's going to be able to break around 100-meter board, going to put it down into third gear, maybe short shift it up into fourth, keeps it now in third. DRS is going to be enabled once again, now puts it into overtake, trying to get the fastest straight line speed as you possibly can. Across the line comes Nick at 128.640, a thousandth behind his teammates. So you couldn't even put a sheet of paper in between these two in terms of their qualifying times. Fair play to the pair of them. I guess that's why they're teammates.
Yeah, that's why they're teammates this season. They work together very, very well. And even Nick said in the pre-race interviews that this track holds a special place for him, and he's definitely practiced for this one. They pretty much even on pace when we were doing practice sessions earlier on, so I expect them to be working together throughout the entirety of the race. And the incident that he had with Callum was a race-ending lag, but it wasn't Callum's fault. Callum was suffering technical issues that day, so no harm there. That's why it wasn't sent to the stewards room. That's why they're all happy with that one. So we've got more drivers on lap, including this guy who just came from the commentary box and is now in the cockpit. Literally, we both did the opposite. He said to me before this race, he has not done any practice. He has not raced Jeddah before, and he's invalidated his lap as I went on board with him. Sorry, Mike.
So I guess that he's kind of just proving his own point there. As you
Yes.
say, validating at that. As Curry's just hit the wall on the inside of turn number 5, and that's him now out of the session. I think he did the same as what Marco's done. I think this is the exact same spot. So yeah, both Marco and Curry out of qualifying. And well, yeah, very unfortunate for the pair of them. At least they will still be making a position up potentially, especially with Kieran's engine penalties. So at least they're not going to be at the very back, but they will be there.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shame for another driver to lose out, of course. I believe he just got points last week as well on debut, which was very great as well for the Finnish driver. Two Finnish drivers here at One Hub Racing in at the P1 tier. We've got the Kitu on a lap right now, looking to put the past behind him and wants to get a much better result compared to what we've seen last week with that incident. So here he comes then through turn 27, trying to take as tight a line as he possibly can. Knowing him, he'll probably go into the pits. Yes, he is diving into the pits for a fresh set of rubber. I think that's what most people are going to be doing. So right now, he's sending him out there on top with Axelot in P2. Axelot, I think, drove very well last week. Throw under the radar. He was thinking a middle downforce setup will be the best for him, and it was quite a mixed bag, actually. I know in the last game, having a high downforce setup was probably better, but with a track like this on F124 with the new handling model, I would have to say you don't want too low downforce, because otherwise you're not going to make certain corners. But you don't want your car to be like a boat. So what my setup was a mixture of the two. So I would go for the middle, because don't forget, it is going to be raining towards the end of the race. I wonder how many people have compromised down for straight line speed just to make sure they get through to the end on the wet conditions later on.
Well, it just depends, doesn't it? If there's going to be rain that's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 laps before the end of the race, then they may alter it ever so slightly. If it's any longer, then it will probably be altered a significant amount. As Cargo has actually binned it out of turn number 2, interestingly enough. As just riding on board of Axelot, he is actually 2.5 tenths up on his time at the moment. So we'll just be just behind Senna, but we've still got 2 more sectors left to go. And it is looking like a very tidy lap so far from Axelot in the Red Bull. DRS is now going to be enabled for, again, the second sector. And we'll see if he's up on his time as he comes up towards the sector split. Again, just under 0.3 of a second up on his time. So again, literally, this will be matching Senna's time, as now DRS again enabled for Axelot coming up towards the final corner now. We'll see if he's going to be able to chuck it into hot lap or if he's going to run out of ERS. Hopefully he keeps it nice and tidy, a little bit wide on the exit out of the final corner. Again, we'll probably end up getting the traction out of it, using the overtake as much as possible. Up towards the line he comes, though. He gets it in 27s, but it is not close. Well, I say it's not. It is still close to center, but not as close as what I thought it would be. As Callum Unarmed jumps up ahead of Casper, as Casper, I didn't even realize, putting a lap time on the board, a 28.2 for the pair of them, slotting them in the third and fourth respectively.
Yeah, that's very good for the likes of Callum Unarmed and Casper there. Not that far behind. Casper was on a lap, but unfortunately he has invalidated. I think we had quite a few yellow flags going on around the circuit as people moving out the way. I believe Nick is just about to start a lap time, heading towards turn 2 now, as there's quite a few people. And Senna sets a marker yet again. Purple in the final sector, purple overall, 127.666. He is fastest, ahead of his teammate and also Atslok and Callum Unarmed. And quite a few of us in the management chat predicted that Atslok is going to be doing well, considering his injuries and he's not feeling very well at the moment. So Atslok in P2, that is quite surprising for me, but sometimes you got to love that underdog story. It's his second season in P1. And he's delivering. I mean, I was not expecting him to be up there against the big guns.
Yeah, no, he's doing well so far. And again, only racing him for the past couple of seasons as well. I know he's definitely made a significant improvement since coming onto this game. So it's definitely good to see. And I'm intrigued to see if he's going to be able to keep up with the rest of the top guys, as you say, throughout the rest of the season. But just got right on board at the moment with Jason is back down in P14. And not a very good start to his season. Out in Imola last week, managing to actually finish it in the end, but just got caught up in a couple of incidents himself. Just behind his teammate at 29.373 respectively for the Xbox driver, so very good to see, and hopefully he's going to try and make some more improvements throughout that as well. Nick up towards the line, improves, up ahead of his teammate, does jump up the one spot up to P6. I'm sure Lukey's not going to be happy with that and wants to try and beat his teammate.
That was a pretty decent lap from Nick Egan in the Scuderia Ferrari. Of course, with the team contract, if you do not perform your team objectives, Nick's not going to go in the Ferrari next season, in particular with Lewis Hamilton now going to be driving the Ferrari. So I think Nick would want to have a decent few results in order to do that, but of course he only got one lap going, so we haven't seen his true pace just yet, but he's looking good out there in the top 6, as there's a lot of our drivers actually. We've got one of the McLarens of Oshin, who I think is not Oshin, is his teammate of Malvin, if it will let me go on board with him. There we go. He has invalidated his run, but it wouldn't have been a good lap anyway, so he is probably going to go into the pit very soon. What about Lukey? I think Lukey's about to start on his out lap. Either Bryn Mike is going towards the second sector now, getting a bit of a tow from 2 of the cars behind. 101.8 in comparison to everybody else. It's not too bad, but he's not going to hijack that he's going to get held up by ones that are going on their in lap.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't get too compromised by those guys. In fact, one of the Ferraris does move out of the way, and the other Aston Martin, I believe that is Craggy, giving him a nice little tow going down towards the first straight, as well as he has retired from the session. Mike, though, up to the line at 129.6 for the Welshman.
That's good.
Again, I know he thinks he can probably make a bit of an improvement on that. Yeah, it's not a bad lap time, but I'm sure he would like to make more of an improvement on that one. And yeah, speaking of someone that I think wants to make more of an improvement, it's the Finn of Casper. He is just making his way through the first sector now, who we predict will be the race winner for this evening.
No, I predicted him pole.
Potential pole sitter as well. So, yeah, we'll see if he is able to try and take that spot off of Senna, because at the moment Senna is just looking unbeatable at this moment. But at the end of the SS section, Casper up towards the end of the first sector. He is 2.5 tenths up on his time. So, yeah, this will put him at least up ahead of Axlock if he does manage to finish his lap time respectively. But now making his way up towards the the quite tricky section and a high curve here on the left hand side. Does ride that very nicely as there's yellow flags behind him. I think that's just Malvin, Oshin just slowing down for a few people, as Lukey's actually improved on his time to 28.2 for the Ferrari. So Nick again probably now on the back foot of that one. Casper, 3 tenths up on his time, so he is going to be going up ahead of Axlock if he does manage to finish this lap the way that he has started it. Now, the final second to last DRS section of the circuit, again, up towards the hairpin. He wants to try and get a break in right, try and take as tight of a line as he possibly can to get the best run. Has a little bit, or doesn't manage to hit the apex of that, but sometimes can be better having the wider line to come out of there. Up towards the line, keeps it as tight as he can to the left-hand side. I think that last part of his lap there just compromised him. He was looking well ahead of Axelock on that, but that last corner, I think it just compromised him on that. A 28.0 is still a good lap, but he definitely knows he could have made a better lap off that.
I think I'm almost certain he could have done a better lap than that, because his first two sectors was amazing, but the final sector was where it let him down. Callum Alarmed is improving in the middle sector. This is looking like a very tiny lap from the RB car, the Racing Bull. I nearly said something completely different. Callum, of course, did not take part in much of the race last week either due to connection issues. Looks like his connection issues is sorted this week. So what's it going to be for the Welshman up to the line? And it's a P2 for Callum Unarmed. Take a bow. He's going to be challenging the likes of Senna for pole position potentially, maybe even Casper. We've got a close field on our hands as well. And considering some people might be on wet setups, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, certainly. And I think there's one more person we need to add to the fray on this one. He's currently on a lap as well. Entity just out of the exit of the first sector. 5 temps up on his time. Just now making his way through the second sector again. Can be very easy to hit that wall on that right-hand side, but does manage to avoid that very nicely and ride that curve as well. DRS now wide open for the end of the second sector. And we'll see how much time he is making an improvement on. Nearly 7/10 of a second. So if he manages to have a good final sector, we could be seeing him out the likes with Casper and Lukey, maybe even with Axelock as well. DRS now wide open for the Williams as he's making his way up towards the final corner. We've seen a few drivers take it out quite wide. He takes it very narrow. Does tag the inside of that corner, though. That's going to compromise him all the way up towards the line. But DRS now wide open for the final time. Deploy has been used. 27.8, though, for Entity. Slots it into second position. It really could have been that tag on the inside of the final corner. I think that it slowed him down a bit, but yeah, I think that's definitely pole material for Entity. He knows he can do an improvement on that. He's got enough time to, so we'll see if he's able to make an improvement.
Yeah, I think quite a few drivers have got a lot of time for improvement, of course. At the Jeddah Corniche Circuit, this is round number 2 of season 26. If you are liking this stream, make sure you give us a follow on Twitch. If you're watching it live, you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you tune in every Sunday at 7 o'clock for P1 and 5 p.m. for P2. Of course, P2 has just happened with a crazy ending to that race with an admin 1-2 of Funky and Jamie. So well done to those two. If you're watching this, by the way, I know those two are, and I like to give them a massive shout out on the stream. Casper has retired. He's not binned it, has he? Oh no, he's retired in the pits. So Casper's done. So my pick a pole is gone. Right. That's one of my predictions out the way. As the checker flag is dropping, I couldn't really see the timing that's going on. There's quite a lot of things happening right now as Senna goes on top once again with a 127.5. Jack, take us through the end of this qualifying session.
Yeah, so Lakitu's done his final lap. Entity's done his final lap. Axelock is on his final lap at this moment, and he's a 10th and a bit up on his time. He wants to try and get at least pole position, but if not, may settle for that front row of the grid. He has got a couple cars up in front of him. There is a Aston Martin and a McLaren up in front. I believe that's Malvern and Craggy, respectively. Craggy, though, 4.5 tenths up on his time as well, but sticking on board with Axelock, nearly 2 tenths up on his time, so he wants to try and challenge his pole position ahead of Senna. He looks like he might be able to pit both Entity and Lakitu, but he needs a good final corner. He needs to make sure he's not getting blocked by those guys out in front of him, and he isn't either, so that's good to see. Has a very nice final corner, does Axelock. Up towards the line, he comes. Malvern just moving out of the way of Craggy out in front of him. Let's see, Craggy up towards the line at 27.6 for Craggy. Axelock hits him as well, up into second position. So, very lovely lap from Axelock to put himself up into second position. Mike comes across the line, no improvement for the Welshman, 29.6 for Mike, starting down in P14, and Entity is going to make his way into the pit. So that is qualifying done. Senna making it 2 in a row for pole positions, and he is looking like the guy to beat at the moment. It wasn't even, well, I was going to say it wasn't even close. It was actually a lot closer than I thought previously. But yeah, Senna out on top of that. Jess, I'll let you take us through the results.
Here we go. Senna on pole for the second time at the moment, I believe, leading the pole standings, well, for the most poles and fastest laps. So we've got Senna from Axelot, from Craggy, Lakitu, NC, Callum, Casper Klein, Lukey, Nick, Berry, your top 10. Then we got Oshin, great qualifying from him. Then we got Jonas Olbrich, Jason, Ivan, Mike, Malvin, Escargo, Kieran, and then we had our 2 retirements there on your screen. But this is going to be a taste of what's to come for the main race coming up very soon. Of course, we've got that lobby restart coming up next. So the drivers will be doing a bit of a dummy start, and then we'll be going straight back to the lobby whilst our lobby hosts get the grid set up. But a lot to unpick in the qualifying session. First one to touch, one of our predictions, Marco starting right at the back of the grid. Now, in some situations, it's good, but with a track like Jeddah, it's important that you get the start straight away. So I would expect Marco to potentially starting on a tyre that might climbing up the order. But because we have rain involved, maybe you want to change that stance.
I probably actually wouldn't, to be honest. I would probably still be starting on the harder tyres that you can probably start on. If there's an early safety car, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But I think he's probably best off starting on the harder tyre, just especially if you're at the very back of the grid. You know, you're going to want to try and make up as many positions as possible. There's going to be incidents that will happen in front of you. So you just want to make sure that you're, as I say, you want to make sure that you're keeping it nice and clean throughout everything. And I think the only way to do that is just by starting on a harder tyre, just letting everyone maybe not get away, but just keeping behind them, keeping them at arm's length, and then being able to overtake them when you've got the better tyre, when you're in the middle of a comfortable situation where driver in front may not have any DRS, you can just easily pass them. Yeah, again, it's easier said than done, but I'm sure we'll be able to see that as well throughout tonight. But yeah, everyone just getting themselves back into the lobby now, or getting back into the main lobby. So I think, I'll be honest with you, a slight disappointment, if I'm completely honest, I think would be from, I think it was Lakitu. I thought he would be in and around the top 5. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he was within the top 5. I think he might have just been sort of on the lower end of the top 10. So I'm expecting him to make up a couple positions. I'm expecting Marco to make up a few positions. Casper as well. Like you said, we still think that he's going to end up winning tonight. And starting from 6th position, it's not impossible, but it's not going to be easy for him, especially with the pace of what Senna's doing at the moment.
Yeah, I think we have got some true contenders. That's the beauty of us predicting before qualifying. Our predictions have gone way out the window, apart from Senna, but we underestimated Senna a little bit, but we never know what the raid's going to do. And speaking of Senna, by the way, he was called to the driver's press conference this week, and Senna was asked his thought about the incident. It's been a big talking point this week, as you could probably tell. So he was asked what were his thoughts on it as he drove through the carnage, and who would you consider is your biggest challenger for the title this season. And he said incidents like those should never happen, and he's been very vocal about it in his ERT team, but not so much in the Discord chat to avoid problems with any drivers. Fair enough, you don't want to cause any drama. I know certain drivers want to cause drama in chats, but Senna is not that type of driver anymore, so that's great. It's a points buffer to some quick people is always nice for him, he said. And I think his main rival, he said, for Senna was Lakitu, of course, One Hub Racing champion, been in P1 before, and he's checked the data according to Senna, and Lakitu had the quickest pace after him in Imola. So that is Senna's fault on who his biggest rival is. I'm a bit surprised it's not like of his own teammate, because you want to beat your teammate, but Senna thinks Lakitu's going to be his biggest rival coming into the season.
It very well could be. I mean, it's only been one round so far of the season. We know what the pace of what Lakitu's capable of. I did get wrong. I was wrong, by the way. He's qualified in full for this one, so yeah, it would be nice to see if he can try and maybe make his way onto the podium for this evening. But yeah, I think Lakitu is definitely one that, especially with the experience he's gotten on the F1 games from previous years, previous seasons with One Hub, not even just One Hub, of other leagues as well that he's been in. The old German, it could make his way through and get himself into that championship battle. Of course, last week probably just a bit of a blip for him, but you know, there's still another 11 more races to go of the season. We've only literally just gotten it started, so you can't really count them out. I mean, at the moment, the fact that Senna's qualified on pole twice, has won the first race by a decent margin. I already go out on the limb to say it looks like he might even do that tonight as well. But anything can happen, especially when that rain does come, depending on whenever it arrives as well. Again, we'll have to wait and see how it's going to go for this evening, I think. But yeah, Lakitu is definitely not someone that you can write off. And he definitely knows how to make his way back onto the top step of that podium. So
yeah,
only time will tell if he's able to do that.
Yeah, I think it does depend on safety cars, because if there is plenty of safety cars, then that's going to affect when the rain does come. If we get no safety cars, then we might hardly get any rain at all. Of course, we've got the formation lap that does take into effect too. And, of course, we've got the possibility of red flags as well. That's been increased to standard this year, so that could change quite a bit. There's a lot of unknowns going into this race, and that's what makes it so exciting. Let's pick out a few pre-race interviews, to be honest. One driver, as well as Mike, that has not practiced this week, is Kieran. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing with setup. Apparently, he just run with what he's told, and he said that he's holding back tonight instead of getting 100%. Now, if you were a driver, would you be going on 100% around Jeddah, or would you be holding back a little to minimise the chance of hitting the walls?
You definitely need to hold back a little bit. I'll be honest with you. As you say, it's quite tight around Jeddah. If you make one slight mistake, it can basically cost you the entire race. And we've seen already 2 drivers do that within qualifying. So, yeah, I think it's best to maybe not give it 100% in this race. Maybe, I don't know, 85, 90%, especially at the start of the race. You know, it's so easy to try and go full on at the start of the race. There's only 27 laps, which I know it may seem like a lot, but it's not, to be honest with you. So a lot of people will try and go for it straight at the very start of the race. You're best off just holding back a little bit if you can. Yeah, try and maybe go for a move that you think may be on. If it doesn't work, back out of it. If it does, great, you made yourself a position. Again, like Anderson said, if a racing driver no longer goes for a grab, he's no longer a racing driver. And I think that's what a lot of people tend to try and do when they try and get a stewards report going. They'll try and use that quote, but it's the wrong way to go about it. You're trying to make sure that you're surviving a race. A race isn't won until it's over. So
no.
Yeah, I think you're best off waiting to try and make any moves that you think are going to work. Otherwise, you could try and go for something, it'd be absolutely stupid, and you're out of your race. So, yeah, not the 100%, I don't think, at the start, especially at the start, but even throughout, I don't think you give it 100%.
No. Especially, I think, in the rain. Yeah, I think I was in P2, and I was definitely not pushing 100%, because otherwise I would have hit the wall. I think a few other drivers were doing exactly the same. So I would expect drivers just to be holding back in the rain period, because otherwise there's going to be a lot of contact from a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers seem to be saying, in terms of difficult corners, that the first sector is quite tricky. Nick's saying he loves this track as soon as the first sector ends. Lukey struggles with turn 16. Casper likes this track, so he doesn't have many corners. Axelot thinks the last corner seems like a struggle, and I could see that. You take a very tight line into the final corner. In some qualifying laps, you could take a wide run before you start your lap, but generally, you got to take a tight line. And usually we see pile-ups happen in turn 27. Take the first Jeddah qualifying as an example there. So yeah, I would expect the first sector and the final sector to be, I think, quite tricky.
Yeah, I think the whole track can be. It's you think that, oh, okay, it's going to be quite a nice, easy corner, until you have a driver in front of you and you're expecting to be taking a certain line and you end up hitting a wall. So, yeah, you've definitely got to try and keep on it, but you don't want to be pushing 100%, but you want to make sure that you are keeping on it. Also found out the reason why that Kieran is not going 100% is the fact that he's on pad tonight. So he usually races on his wheel, but he's decided to use a controller for tonight. not too sure exactly it's the reason why. I don't know if his wheel was broken or what, but
I think he's not at his usual place because his setup, I believe, is at uni, and I think he's on a break for uni at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. And he would rather do that than not race at all. Fair play. If I was on a pad, I would be like 6-7 seconds slower. So, but for people like Kieran, you can't afford to go on a pad and still be quite quick. So, yeah, and he'd even put in the chat, he's proved he's already champion. He had the only name, which is gold, and has a trophy next to it. That's due to Fan Zone. I don't really take part in Fan Zone anymore, to be honest. I usually wait until the season gets part again, and it gives me free XP again. But I don't know who we're waiting for to get the session underway. I think a few drivers were having problems getting in due to their monitors. I think Malvin being one of them. So hopefully we can get underway very, very soon. Now, we've had our predictions in terms of top three. We've gone through the media day stuff, so we're pretty much going through predictions here. We've gone through our top three. We've gone through our poll. None of those have worked well. Let's go for surprises now, Jack. Who do you think is going to be the biggest good surprise, and who's going to be the biggest surprise in a bad way? I'll give you two drivers. One good, one bad.
One good. I'm going to go with the NSX driver, Beret. He qualified, I believe it was in 10th place. I think that might be the highest qualifying I've seen him have in quite a long time. So I think Beret is, again, it's just a matter of keeping it nice and clean, and I think we'll be able to see him go skyrocket up. I mean, Imola, he did the same thing, or did something very similar to Kieran. He stayed out on the tyres as long as he possibly could. Unfortunately, got swamped more than what Kieran did, but Beret did try and keep it out nice and clean. I think all the NSX driver needs to do, he needs to try and replicate that tonight, and wait until that rain arrives. As soon as the rain arrives, just chuck on another set of the into tyres or something, and then try and go for a charge at the end of the race. So I think if I'm going to go with a good surprise, I think Berry's going to be one of them. For a bad surprise, well, I was to say it's not a surprise of a possible either spin mic.
That's not a bad surprise because we're expecting it to happen around Jeddah.
Yeah, but if I'm going to go with one of the bad surprises, it's going to be one of the Ferraris. I think one of them are going to have a bit of a bad time. If I'm honest with you, I think one of them will.
That's one of my good surprises, actually, is one of the Ferraris. So we're disagreeing for the first time at the broadcast. I think Nick is going to be the biggest good surprise because he was looking good in qualifying. And I think he could be one of those drivers that, like what we saw in P2, Funky wasn't there towards the start of the race, but towards the end, when he got the strategy right, he nailed it. So I think Nick's going to be the biggest good surprise. Nick's going to hate me for doing this as well. I think bad surprise, Craggy had a great result last time out, but I think Craggy's just going to struggle a little bit to get the power down a bit more. So I think Craggy's going to be the biggest bad surprise. You can let us know in chat, by the way, on who you think is the biggest good surprise and biggest bad surprise as well. I don't know why we're still not going, by the way, but hopefully we can get underway very, very soon. But yeah, those are your predictions. Now, last season, I remember, you didn't, I don't think you had a good race. I believe you DNF'd. Top 12 score points. Pretty much, if anyone DNFs in this race, I think it's just going to be more than likely. Plenty of chances for your either spin mics, like your Currys, like your Berries, for example, like your Oceans, to score some decent points which can make or break your championship. And I do believe, I think Nick has readied up. So, no, he hasn't. Okay, it was just sent out. I thought we were going to get underway, but we're not. So I think we have to just wait just a little bit longer. But yeah, hopefully not that long before we get going under racing, Jack.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be, Malvin will be able to get himself in the lobby very, very soon. I think he's just talking out with Lukey in the chat at the moment. So hopefully he's going to be able to get that working. Something to do with his HDMI just not showing. So might be a bit unfortunate for Malvin. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it back in the race in time. I don't think he will. But, I mean, I think we're still waiting for him at this current moment. But, I mean, I'll ask a question here, Jess. A few races we've got that are sprint races for this season.
Yes.
Qatar being one of them next week. Do we think there's going to be a copious amount of chaos like we had at Imola? Or Do we think it's going to be calm, or is it the same with any of the other sprint races?
It's
Do you
hard
think
to
any of the
tell.
other sprint races could?
It's hard to tell, I think, because Qatar, not many people have raced it. Again, season 23 was the last time we raced at Qatar, round number 1, and it's a different environment compared to last season. It's a different, like the technical elements are different. You don't use that much fuel. I think with the drivers not racing that track that much, I think it's going to be a recipe for disaster for some drivers. I think the drivers that have the most practice, I think are going to potentially do very well. But I think we could see people that don't like the higher downforce tracks are going to have a recipe for disaster. But for the ones who like the higher downforce tracks, it's going to do well. But I'm going to anticipate chaos, and I'm going to do my prediction on the weather. I think if it's like what we saw in the sprints last time, I think we're going to get a wet sprint, and I think we're going to get a wet start to the race. What do you think?
I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. I think it's, I'll be honest with you. I'm not even going to try and predict it, because I know whatever I try and do will be a commentator's curse. So I'm just not even going to say anything. I'll be honest with you.
Should we go through? Should we go through sponsors? Because I'm worried we've got 2 minutes and we forgot to tell through sponsors. I think you got the document open. Do you want to go through our sponsors for us?
Yeah, I'll go through them very, very quickly. So big shout out to, of course, Next Level Racing, providing one of the top prizes for this season in One Hub Racing. Of course, providing one of the 3 racing seats for us, and have been there for quite a few seasons. So big thank you, of course, to Next Level Racing for that. Pure Sim Gear as well, providing some gloves or socks for I think there's a combined fastest laps and pole positions. And at the moment, like you say, I think it's looking like it's only going to one driver of ERT Senna, but again, it's only a second race.
He's leading, I think, at the moment for that.
Yeah, so I think I don't know if they're going to have anybody else in contention with that, if I'm honest with you. But again, we'll wait and see. Someone from B2 could maybe sweep it off of him. You never know. Of course, for Vespertine as well, for providing some merchandise for 2 different occasions. One for the Going Gets Tough Award, which we'll, of course, have at the end of the season, as well as good old Camk's rankings. Of course, also having his little his race at the end of the season that we always love to see, so make sure you keep an eye out for that when it comes towards the end of the season. Of course, he gets a nice t-shirt from Vespertine, so yeah, hopefully we'll see who ends up winning each of those for the Going Gets Tough Awards, and of course for Camk's top ranking award as well. And of course the final one, without them we'd have to be using Google Forms, and it'd be absolutely awful. Of course, big shout out to SimGrid as well for being the main sponsor for One Hub, providing all of the championship standings, qualifying results, putting on the races, being able to check in, check out after each of the races as well. Make sure you check them out on thesimgrid.com. But I think we're just waiting for everyone to put the setups on, put up, waiting for everybody to ready up as well. I think Nick is actually just about to give the go-ahead for people to ready up as well.
That was good timing.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect timing. So my top 3 is going to stick. I still think Markov is going to make his way through the field. I think Casper can still pull off a win. But will he? I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to wait and see on that one. So fasten your seatbelts, everybody. We are going to be in for an exciting race coming up. Don't forget, we have got the adaptive weather system for our drivers this evening, and it's going to make things even spicy. So we had a dry qualifying, which was, let me have a look, it was overcast to light cloud, but the weather for the race, clear to light cloud to very wet. So that's why we are going to see, I think, a mixture of strategies for our drivers. So let's get into some gameplay action. So we've got Senna on the mediums, as well as Craggy, Lakitu, Callum, Casper, Lukey, Nick, Beret, Jonas, Jason, and Iberbrim Mike. Then we got Entity, Axelot, Escargot, Curry, Marco and Kieran on the soft. I'm not surprised with the bottom 4 on the soft. They want to try and get as much pace as they can. Oshin starting on the hards. I wouldn't have gone that if I was him. 2 mediums will make it just fine, I think, around this track. They last quite a while around here. 10 lap, you could do 2 lots of 11, 12 laps, and then just hope that there's going to be rain at the end, or going on a set of softs at the end if that's the case. But I'm not surprised to see the split of strategies, and I'm not surprised that most drivers have gone for the mediums considering the adaptive weather system that we have.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, I think it can be a good benefit of going on the hard tyres for Oshin as well. I think he's going to try and drag those out as long as he possibly can. Probably hope that he can maybe go on a set of mediums if there's like an early safety car or something. Try and take those to whenever it does come to chuck it down for the rain. X-Lock, though, I think quite interesting on the set of softs at the front of the grid, same with Entity. Those two are going to be the ones that we're going to need to keep our eye out for in this one, Jess. But yeah, on the softs, I think we're going to, unfortunately for Mike and Jason, they might have to pull off a bit of a defensive masterclass going in towards the first couple of corners. But Senna already lining up in his grid box. Are your top three still going to be the same?
No. I don't think so.
Updated?
Yeah, I don't think so. Get your predictions in the chat, as I think loads of people are doing spins because it's really hard to get your tyres heated around this track. When's the rain going to come? We don't know. None of the drivers know. You don't know in the chat. We are about to get started with 25 laps worth of action. I did the start last week, so it's only fair we're alternating each week to hand it over to Jack to do the race start. Over to you.
Wait for those 5 red lights. Round number 2 around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Here they come, though. We have got the 3, 4, and 5 red lights up on your screen. Bit of a bad camera angle, and the lights are out, and away they go. Very good start from Axel on those soft compounder tyre, and Senna already losing out to the lead of the race. Axel down the inside, though, tries to go craggy on Senna, but doesn't manage to get the move done. Entity trying to fight with Callum Arm as well to try and hold up onto P5. Manages to hold on to that position for now, but Callum Arm trying to go down the inside. It was turn number 4, not going to be able to get the move done. And Entity holds it up onto P5. Very clean throughout the rest of the field as well. Key holding up down in P18. Unfortunately for Mike, already down into 17th position, and might actually end up getting overtaken by Key. And in fact, he does. In fact, Mike, I think, may have a slight bit of damage to the Welshman, unfortunately down at the back of the grid. But very good start from Axel, moving up into the lead of the race. Going to try and take those softs as long as he possibly can. Well, probably going to have to try and get a bit of a sprint on and try and get away from the rest of the medium runners. As Curry now side by side with Jonas Albrecht at the start of the second sector, and the Kick Sauber getting himself up into P13. Very good start from the Finn as well, moving his way up through the field. Marco and Escargo at the back as well, both going side by side, and the 2 Alpine side by side. Berry and Jason is back. Oshin on those hards as well, making up a position. Very good start from the Irishman, but it is Axlock out on top. Center in second, Craggy holding on to 3rd position, and Nikita trying to maybe put a bit of pressure on his teammate.
Here goes Callum trying to challenge the likes of Entity for P5, but Axel on those soft tyres, getting that fresher rubber and that softer rubber to try and stay ahead, but it's not going to last long. After a few laps, just wait for Senna, and I think he's going to go on the attack. So Axel's going to home for an early safety car in order to give him to keep his lead. We've got Curry side by side with Bear on the inside with one of the Alpines. There's a bit of contact by the 2 Alpines as we see Bear dropping down into P14. I think we've got a little bit of a squabble in the midfield heading in towards turn 4 as we see Marco going up into P13. He wants to make amends from his bad qualifying session, which he seems to be doing thus far. The gaps are just so minuscule. The top 10 are in their little DRS train, but because of Jason's mishaps, Jason has got his own DRS train to deal with, and that's not good at all at this stage. But still a long way to go in this race with different tyres, of course. Oshin's pace will come to help him later on. As we can see, I think Marco trying to go up the inside at a very tight corner. What a move from Marco. He's up to 12th already, past Curry.
Yeah, and he's going to have the DRS on Jason. Of course, only 1 lap to DRS, and he has in fact got the DRS. Mike also getting DRS on Kieran and getting himself up back into 17th position. So Kieran now losing out on that position, and we're going to have a lead change here. Senna now trying to go around the outside. Craggy also trying to get himself involved around the outside of Axel in towards the final corner. Senna's going to have the better run out of the final corner and does in fact get himself in the lead of the race, but Axel has now got himself to DRS. Senna now going to be swamped by not just Axel but by Craggy. Craggy's going to try and see if he can push, give bump drafting, I think, up on Senna. Doesn't get the move done, but Axel going to try and go down the inside into turn 1, have the outside for turn 2, but can sometimes be the better traction zone. Craggy's going to try and make it 3 wide out of the first set of corners, but Axelot with the better traction out of turn number 2, getting himself back up into the lead of the race. Craggy had to back out of that one, didn't want to try and have another incident like he had at Imola last week, and manages to hold himself up into P3, but that's now allowed the rest of those guys from 1st to 7th all to join back in within that train. Nice little battle going on. Lukey and Nick both losing out slightly to those guys, and Oshin is just going to try and hold the back of them. Berry picking up the first 3-second time penalty. It's quite surprising because it's quite hard. Well, I wouldn't say it's quite hard, but it's not.
First sector, it's quite easy to get penalties. First sector, the CSs.
Yeah, I would say it is actually, to be fair, yeah. But quite surprising that there's already a penalty on the 3rd lap as Callum and Armed looking to see if he can go for a move on Entity. And again, another lead change might be going on as Senna, trying to go down the inside of Axel before getting towards the start of the 3rd sector, trying to hold it around the outside. Oh, what a move that was. It's now Craggy going to try and see if he can go for something as well. I think Axelot might even have himself. He does. No, he doesn't have damage. Sorry, my apologies. But he's now getting swamped. He's down into nearly 4th position already.
Are the softs giving up the ghost for Axelot because he's getting swamped by the 2 Aston Martin, Senna as well. This is not looking good for Axelot. I told Senna that he was going to be, I think, patient going into the next few laps. It's going to be 3 wide again going in towards turn number 1. Senna covers off Craggy quite nicely. Both the Aston Martins are driving a stellar race thus far. Callum unarmed as well. Then we got Jason side by side with Curry up the inside in towards turn 2. Nicely done from him. He's up to 12. He's in a points paying position. Don't forget, here at One Hub Racing Top 12, score points, and you have to do a mandatory 2-stop in this race. If you don't, you will get disqualified. And also, fastest lap points are available for drivers inside and outside the top 10, as we're seeing Jason a little bit of a wide moment towards the end of the S's now. Quite easy to do. As you can see, Jonas Ulbrich trying to go for the move down this back straight. Harder to get the move done, but I think Jason is trying to stay ahead for now. I think Jonas just wants DRS heading towards this next back straight coming up very soon as well. I think a lot of people are starting to find their feet a little bit. Could we see a bit of DRS chicken from our front lot, do you think?
It's possible, especially with the 2 Aston Martin sitting in 2nd and 3rd position now that they've gotten past Axelot as well. So, yeah, definitely anything's possible with those guys playing maybe a bit of, as you say, DRS chicken. But Craggy, DRS now wide open to see if he can maybe go for something on our race leader of ERT Senna. Is Callum and Arm now trying to go around the outside of Axelot in towards the final corner. Allows him to do that, and now Callum and Arm going a bit wide though, coming out of the final corner. Axelot trying to go back down the inside of him, but doesn't manage to get that done, and the Welshman managing to get a better traction out of the final corner. But here we go, down towards turn number 1. Craggy's going to try and hold it around the outside of turn 1 to have the inside for turn 2. Don't even know if he's really going to need it. No, Senna does hold it there though. Craggy down the inside of turn number 2. Bit of wheel banging going on between a pair of them, but Senna with a better drive out of the 2nd turn, managing to hold on to the lead of the race. Very well done from Senna, our pole sitter, and of course championship leader so far, as Callum Lamb almost going in the back of Lakitu. Meanwhile, a bit further back though, the 2 Alpines both changing positions, so Berry now up into 14th. Jason's back now down into 15th. Curry also, as you say, dropping a position to Jonas Ulbrich, to Marco has just completely gapped the rest of them. Oshin is now looking to see if he can maybe try and put a bit of a pounce on those hard tyres.
Yep, those hard tyres seem to be doing well for Oshin at the moment, because we're starting to see the softs dying. We're starting to see the mediums being okay, but in a few laps' time, Oshin will probably come back to pounce the 2 Ferraris. And speaking of the Ferraris, I said they were going to be like magnets for the entirety of the race so far. They definitely are, and I think they're going to have a little bit of teamwork, just DRSing each other to make sure Oshin does not have a sniff right now. You can tell they're working together as a team, and I bet you in the final few laps, they're going to go all guns a-blazing when we head to these wet conditions. As we can see, I think the change for the lead once more as Craggy takes the lead from Senna. I think Senna, though, has probably let Craggy through because of that DRS and how powerful it is. So let's watch on board with Senna heading towards the start finish straight as we start lap 6 of 25. Senna's going to get a beautiful run around the right-hand side in towards turn number 1. Nicely done. And Senna, again, is in the lead of this race. I do believe the 2 Ferraris have switched positions once again, but Senna is controlling this race so far. So the 2 Aston Martins. I mean, it could go either way. I think Senna is the only one out of my top 3 that's doing well. So I think that just goes to show Senna is got a point to prove this season. He likes this track, and he's definitely showing it at the moment. But I wonder if he's running a dry setup. I think if he's like that already on the dry tyres, is he going to manage it in the wet?
It could be. And Oshin already now making a move on one of the two Ferraris. Nick now down into 10th position. His yellow flag's behind. I think that might be...
Escargot.
Is Escargot. Very unfortunate for him in the Haas. Making that mistake. But yeah, Oshin now up into 9th position. And we're going to see Casper now try and go around the outside of Axelot to have the inside for the end of the second sector. Axelot does not try and fight that one. Gives that one up in the end as Craggy, I thought, might have even been trying to go for a move on Senna towards the end of the second sector. But now here we go. The two Aston Martins, they're looking very quick in a straight line. They're both looking like they want to try and pounce on to Senna. In fact, Craggy just lets Lakitu go because Lakitu's now going to try and go around the outside of Senna into towards the final corner. The German's going to hold it around the outside. Senna gets pinched to the inside. Very well worked from Lakitu now to hold the lead of the race. But now Senna is going to have the DRS, and that is Axelot making his way into the pit. So the first pit stopper, we'll see where he ends up coming out. But Senna down in towards turn number 1 goes, looks to try and go down the inside, backs off of that one. Lakitu now going to be taking the race lead. Senna down in the second, Craggy holding on to 3rd position. Callum and Arms just looking to try and see if he can maybe make a pounce on one of those guys if they make a slight mistake. But none of them in the top 3 are making any mistake at the moment. And unfortunately for the Welshman, it's just going to have to sit behind them, just watching them through the S's.
Yep, he's going to have to at the moment. And it's a lot harder with the dirty air as well, I found, around Jeddah. So sometimes we did ask that question, or is it good to push, or is it to hold back a little bit? I think some of these drivers are holding back until their first pit stops, because if they push for the entirety of the stint, that's when the tyres are going to start to give up the ghost very quickly, as Ivan Mike has picked up his first 3-second time penalty as the two Alpines are going at it. Right now heading towards the end of sector 1. I think Jason got the upper hand there, and that's locked on those fresher rubber has got past Ivan Mike up in to 14. So he's got to have that clear air now in order to make sure he can get ahead of these lot who are in absolute hell because they're in absolute traffic with the leading bunch. So here is Callum. Callum's chasing down Craggy. Casper is chasing down Craggy as well. It's going to be 3 wide potentially towards turn 27. Some people have got to back out due to DRS chicken. Callum and Arms are around the outside, but Craggy's like, nope, you're having none of that. Who's going to get the DRS? Surely one team is going to think about pitting now. None of them is thinking about pitting. We've got to change for the lead as well. Lakitu goes down the inside, but Senna's going to try and have none of that. Lakitu through into the lead. Craggy in 3rd place. Callum just about missed out on 3rd for now. Oh, this is so exciting between our front 5 at the moment. Literally any one of those could win this race right now. They're even on pace, it seems.
Yeah, they certainly are. A bit of a boo-boo that's happened here. Entity and Marco both pitting, of course, both being under the same team for Marco. It's a bit of a disaster for him because now he's going to have to double stack with his teammate. Very unfortunate for him because he's going to be further back than what he would have thought he would be. But the top 8 all still within this DRS train, and Oshin, I thought he might have been looking for a move on Lukey, but Lukey's managed to catch himself back up within these top 5 in this little DRS train. So yeah, very unfortunate for Oshin on those hards, but again, he's just playing it patient. He's doing well so far on those hards, and I think those hard tyres, maybe in about 3 or 4 laps time, we're going to see those hards then start to come into their own, and I think we might start to see the Irishman make his way through the field ever so slightly. But yeah, Lakitu now, the German, holding on to the front of the field, but of course with the DRS is now going to be enabled for Senna and for Craggy. Are we going to see Senna move his way back through on Lakitu before the final turn, or are we going to place the DRS chicken here as it goes up towards the final corner? Lakitu can hold it around down the inside. Craggy doing the same on Callum Unarmed, and yeah, Senna is going to have the DRS, so it looks like Senna might inherit the race lead again unless he's happy to just sit behind the German, but I don't think he is. He wants to go for that overtake. He does go for that overtake. Craggy's also going to try and go for the overtake though, down in towards turn number 1, both holding it down the inside. Lakitu losing out 2 positions. Callum and Arms also trying to see if he can move his way. Didn't realise that he was going to get pinched up that tightly. Ends up having a bit of a tap on the back of Lakitu, and it's now allowed Casper to see if he can go for a move, but no, Casper holds on back for the time being, and Lukey now looking to see if he can try and pick up from any of the mistakes making from the guys out in front. But Nick completely drops now from the rest of those guys in the top 6. I don't know what has happened to him, but yeah, a few other pitters as well. Unfortunately for Nick, he's now down to 7th, 1.7 seconds though behind the guys in front of him. He's in a bit of no man's land now, Jess.
He is, unfortunately for Nick, my biggest good surprise. I swear to God there, Jack, my predictions are not doing too well unless you're Senna right now. So I think Nick is probably going to have some stern words in the WhatsApp chat later on tonight when he knows that I predicted him as biggest good surprise. But you never know what could happen. Could Lukey help Nick get back into the DRS train? But I think Lukey's just better on those tyres. Lukey's in a very prime position. He had a very good result last time out in Imola due to being in DRS trains for quite a bit, working with Atslot quite a lot in that race just to try and wheel in quite a lot of the drivers in front, and Lukey is pretty much trying to close in on Casper as we got a battle for the lead once more. Senna round the outside, but Senna realised he's not going to get the DRS this way. So Craggy leads for now in towards the final straight as we got one of the Aston Martins coming into the pits. Lakitu has pulled the trigger out of the leading bunch and he's going to go on the first pit stop. So is Casper and so is Nick. Senna around the outside of Craggy. Senna for now takes the lead of this one. McCallum Unarmed has got a decent run through towards this next section. In towards fifth gear on exit. There he goes. And yeah, we got our first lot of pit stops. What are these front four going to do now? They got to try and push for their life. I can understand why the likes of Senna, Craggy and Lukey stayed out, but for Callum, maybe he should have jumped the gun and followed suit because his teammate has already pitted. And speaking of already pitted, he's pitting again.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Hopefully Callum Anand is going to be able to pit this lap, though. I'm sure he'll sit and follow what those two do out in front of him. But I said one of the Ferraris are going to have a bit of a bad one. It's Nick, right. Unfortunately, he picks up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So, yeah, Nick, it's gone from bad to worse for him. He dropped out the DRS for his teammate, and he's now got that 10-second penalty looming over his head. So he's got to hope that maybe a safety car comes in, or comes out, sorry, so that he can serve that 10 seconds under that safety car. But, yeah, Callum Anand looking very, very close to the back of Craggy. I don't think the Welshman's going to go for anything. When I'm saying that, Craggy is closing up to the back of Senna, Mike picking up another 3-second time penalty. Craggy's going for the move. Callum Anand's going for the move. On one, is he going to go for it on the other one, though? In towards the pit lane. Craggy leaves him the space on the inside. And I think they're both going to make their way into the pits. Yes, in fact, Craggy's trying to move himself over to the left-hand side. He's trying to go side by side into the pits, but backs out of that one. Callum Anand inherits the race lead going into the pits.
Wow.
Very well done from the Welshman. Craggy did have to back out of that one because he wasn't within the white lines on that. And now, those top four making their way into the pits. Jonas Albrecht coming into the pits. Axelot is going to inherit the race lead. Of course, we're making an early pit stop, but where is he going to come out in relation to the rest of them? You can just see them coming across the line now. Lakitu as well, and Oshin. I didn't even realise he hit early on those hards as well. And yeah, the top three, well ahead of Callum Anand and those guys that pit on that later. Entity also within that fray. Casper ahead of his teammate.
Yeah, Casper ahead of his teammate Senna. Now, this is shaking up the order massively. Of course, you had Oshin, who pitted from the hards to the mediums quite early considerably because he could have gone two mediums. And oh no, Oshin, what have you done? Oshin has picked himself a 3-second time penalty. As you can see, Casper, I think it looked like he let Senna through, or maybe he just struggled with the traction on exit. I don't know. But let's see how well the two Mercedes work together for the rest of this one because they are close together. Escargot has got a penalty. But it seems to me the one who pitted an apple too early has worked wonders. But for Axelot, he pitted onto those mediums early. I've had experience when I was doing a practice lobby earlier. So I go on the softs and then go on the mediums. Those mediums are crying for help considering there'll be potentially no safety car. If there's no safety car for Axelot, he's going to be absolutely screwed for places. And Lakitu's got the much better grip around the outside in towards turn 27. And Lakitu's got the lead for now. Axelot, though, is going to get some good slipstream on Lakitu. I believe he's going to get the DRS, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. Yes, he does, as we're seeing fastest apps galore from all of our drivers. As Axelot doesn't get the move done, he stays in P2 for now. Oshin stayed in P3, keeping up with these lot, which is really, really great to see. Callum on arm, though, he's dropping back from this DRS trade. Not ideal for the likes of Craggy, NC, Senna and Casper that are trying to close in. Same with Lukey as well. So this is going to be a situation where none of us know who's going to win this race with the strategies.
Well, I'll tell you now, our prediction's definitely not coming true.
Nope.
Casper has got himself wing damage. So that is definitely our race prediction out of the window. That's the reason why he let Senna through. He's got front right wing damage. So unfortunately, he's going to try and hold it out on those medium tyres. I don't blame him. You know, he doesn't want to make another pit stop until either the rain arrives or until there's a safety car, which there might be one now. And there certainly is. Escargot unfortunately DNFing out of the second corner, and that's now brought out a full course safety car. So for Kieran, well, for the back four, shall I say, I think that's going to help them massively. But yeah, I don't think that's going to help the guys that, well, it's not going to help, yeah, the front guys, to be honest with you. Everyone's just going to close back up to the back of the pack. Are we going to see anyone try and go a bit brave and pit for maybe a set of the hards to go to the end of the race? Or are they going to still maybe hold it out for the wet tyres?
We are going to get rain, I think, because we've got that safety car. But I'm just trying to remember in P2, I think we had 2. And I think if we didn't have 2, we probably wouldn't have got the rain. It's hard to tell that. I think if you're like Atslot, I would pit because you will get your 2 stops done out of the way. And if it's not raining enough, then at least you will get to the end of the race and you don't have to worry about making another stop. So here, I think it'll be Oshin that leads. Stop the count. I can't believe I'm actually saying it. Oshin is leading a P1 race. I don't think I'll be saying that in 2025, but there we go. Oshin from Calamon Armed, they're staying out. So is Craggy, Senna, Lukey, and Lakitu. I will look at our spectator menu and see who has done their 2 stops and who hasn't. So, as we're seeing a lot of movers and shakers, so top 5 still yet to do a second stop. The key to the net race leader, because he's done 2 stops. So is Atsalot. Jonas Albrit has done 1 stop. NC Casper and Marco's done 2 stops. This is probably a blessing in disguise for Casper. He was probably relieved that he's had that safety car. Mike's done 1 stop. Everyone else has done 2 stops. So most people taking advantage of that safety car and getting that second stop needed. So just in case the rain doesn't come hard down enough, they don't have to pit again. They can get those tyres to the end of the race, possibly. But I think unless you're Lakitu, it's going to be a tall order, I think. I think Lakitu is definitely, in my opinion, the favourite to win the race. And even Senna has even pointed that out in the driver's press conference earlier.
Yeah, Lakitu or even Axelot, I mean, he's done his 2 stops, starting on the softs, gone to 2 sets of mediums. So Axelot is still definitely within a shot of a win if it doesn't start hammering it down with rain. If it does, the guys that are in front of him could probably end up going on a set of them inters at the end of the race if it does get wet enough. So, yeah, I think it's all dependent on when this rain is going to arrive. Like you said in the P2 tier, there was 2 safety cars and it ended up arriving at the end of the race. So, it's just dependent on how long the safety car is going to stay out, if it's going to be wet enough for the guys to go on a set of the intermediate tyres. If it is, then the guys that stayed out have probably done a very good strategy on that term. If it isn't, then Lakitu and Axelot, I think, on Entity are all going to be absolutely laughing. Quite interestingly, Casper and Marco going on a set of the soft tyres and not pitting again, which is quite surprising.
They think the rain's going to come.
Yeah, as I said, I don't know if that's an indication to say that the rain could be arriving sooner than we think.
Could be. I don't know. We don't get the weather graphics in the commentary box. I wish we could, but we don't get it in the commentary box. So we have no idea when the rain's going to come. The only people that know are the drivers, and even Mark could be unpredictable at times. My Mark wasn't even working earlier on. It even didn't even tell me when the safety car was out, or even said when the safety car was coming in. I had to rely on my teammate. So Mark, don't trust Mark at times. You've got to trust on your instinct to really understand on when there's the right time to go on to those inters if necessary, because the ones that are staying out, they're going to hope the rain's going to come sooner than you think, because that would really help them in terms of strategy. We just don't know what's going to happen. Get your predictions in the chat. Are the ones on the 1 stop pulling up a blinder and pulling up a great strategy masterclass, or the ones that have done their 2 stops already pulled off a strategic masterclass, and are those are going to be the ones that are going to be the favourites to win this one? I don't know. This is why we love the P1 tier. This is why me and Jack were very much looking forward to this one, because Jeddah always brings up that excitement. But I believe everyone has caught up to the safety car. And we have 5 drivers getting penalties. I do believe Nick did go into the pit earlier to serve his 10 seconds. So his 10 seconds are done and dusted. He doesn't have to worry about it anymore. He could just focus on this race. That was the main reason why he pitted.
Yeah, so he's managed to serve his 10 seconds, so that's all sorted out. That's all said and done for him. I'm assuming safety car will be in at the end of this lap. It hasn't indicated yet, and as I say that, it certainly has now. Oshin is probably absolutely seething at the fact that that safety car came out, because he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. So if everyone does stay close, he's going to be falling down the pecking order when it comes to the end of the race, if there's no other safety cars and if nothing else actually ends up happening in this race. So we'll see if the Irishman is able to maybe make a bit of a charge on ahead of the rest of the guys behind him, but he's on 2 lap older tyres than the rest of them. But let's have a look and see is when Oshin is going to opt to go. Is it going to be before the final corner? Is it going to be after the final corner? The Irishman trying to play a bit of mind games with Callum and Arms right behind him. I think he's going to wait until after the final corner. Don't think he's going to go straight away, though. He might give it a little bit of time, and it's probably going to end up going roughly round now-ish. I would like to say he's probably going to go. In fact, he might even try and hold it up towards the line. No, he does end up going now and catches Callum a little bit off guard with that one. Craggy, though, seemed to read that one a bit better than the Welshman up in front of him as he's looking to try and maybe go for a move on Callum. In fact, saying that Callum trying to go down the inside of Oshin in towards turn number 1. Doesn't get that done. Oshin picks up another 3-second time penalty for his troubles, and now so it's 9 seconds now he's gotten. Axelot getting the move done on the Keto for P6. Jonas Olbrock now also under pressure from Casper. Casper getting the move done on the Haas driver down behind him now as well. So Casper trying to see if he can work his way through the field. Of course, with his time penalty as well, needs to try and get as far up the order as he possibly can. Unfortunately, he's got a hard runner in front of him. Of course, it being the key to, he wants to try and get this move done as soon as possible, try and use as much ERS to get past the German. Tries to go for it down in towards the looping left-hander and actually gets that move done. Lakitu does back out of that one. He's playing the long game in this one, and smartly so for Lakitu to do that, as Calamanan looking to try and put that pressure on Oshin at the end of Sector 2. Of course, no DRS is going to be enabled as of yet, but the Welshman using a bit of his ERS. He wants to go for this race lead early on. Oshin's giving him a bit of a squeeze up towards the wall. Calamanan going to return the favour, and the Welshman now up into the lead of this race. The RB is now sitting on the top step at this moment, but Oshin is now going to be put under pressure, not just from him, but from Craggy as well. Craggy is going to look to see if he can go around the outside of the Irishman. Has done so. Maybe even see if he can go for it on the Welshman. See if he's able to try and go for any sort of move. Getting a bit boxed in is the Aston Martin. A little bit of wheel banging as well. A bit of squeeze between the wall, and Senna going into the back of him as well. Hopefully for Senna, that hasn't given him any wing damage. I think it in fact has. Yeah, he's got front right end plate damage. So Senna with the damage. Callum is going to be allowed to run away with DRS now being enabled. I think even Craggy might have picked himself a bit of damage before his troubles.
I saw Craggy hit the wall. I saw Craggy hit the wall. So my biggest bad surprise is not doing very well. And I was not expecting this. The Ferrari I predicted to be the biggest good surprise is down in 11th. The one we thought was going to do bad is doing brilliantly. He's up to 3rd place, is Lukey. He could be still on for the win of this race. And he was the one who said he would rather just hold back. And he is holding back. He's avoiding the carnage. We saw that last week as well in Imola. And it's coming back to pretty much help it. But he's out that DRS. We're seeing that Oshin is a lot quicker than him with older tyres. So I think it's going to be between Callum and Craggy for the race win, unless they get the strategy wrong, and that will mean the likes of the ones who've done their 2 stops could be back into this as well. Will Senna and Casper hold fire and wait to go into the pits until the rain comes, or will they have to stay out a little bit? Callum had a little bit of a moment there towards turn 20. I'm losing track of the amount of turns. There's so many turns, there's little kicks going on, but what a race so far. Looks like Oshin is going to try and get past Lukey on the back straight. I don't think Lukey is going to fight that back, to be honest. No, he's not. Oshin is through into 3rd place, but with his 3-second time penalty, it's not going to help him whatsoever. Casper's making his way through. Casper's up to pit. I don't think Casper's got any wing damage. The Casper is looking on the pace right now, but I might be wrong. Here comes Lukey.
Yeah, Lukey going to go down the inside of Oshin in towards turn number 1. Yeah, Pro Driver gets that one done up into 3rd position. In fact, it's actually him defending from the Irishman as Oshin picks up another 3-second time penalty. It's 12 seconds worth of penalties for Oshin now as Marco trying to go around the outside of Jonas Ulbrich out into turn number 4. Gets the move done. Nicely done from the Williams. But yeah, I was about to say, Senna needed to return the favour a bit for Casper, I think. Because of Senna's damage, he needed to try and let Casper through. He managed to hold on to DRS with that, so yeah, Senna's still not in a bad position. He's maybe got to hope that the rain comes sooner rather than later, or a safety car does arrive as well. But that's Kieran having a bit of a spin through the S section. But yeah, Lukey, because of all the battling going on with Oshin, they've lost touch to the top 2. Craggy and Callum Alarmed are the 2 that are going to be battling it out for this race win, unless there's another safety car. We'll see if the 2 juggernauts are able to try and, see how the battling's going to go down for that one. There's more yellow flags. I think that's Curry. Losing out a bit of time from those guys out in front of them. But yeah, everyone from Lukey downwards, again, it's a massive DRS train. And I think it's only going to get bigger because now going to see Oshin. We're now going to see Casper try and go for some moves. They're making it free where Casper going down the inside of the pair of them. Very well worked from Casper on those soft compound attire and managing to hold up into third position. Oshin, though, and Luki are going to have the DRS to return favour on that. And Craggy also going to try and go down the inside of Callum and Arm into coming up towards turn number 1. In fact, Craggy has already gotten past the Welshman, so he now inherits the race lead. Casper is going to hold on ahead of Oshin, saying that Oshin actually holds that well around the outside to have the inside for turn 2. Casper's going to have the better traction on the exit of turn number 2, and he's going to have the inside for turn number 4. So I think Casper is going to be able to hold on ahead of the Irishman. But Oshin, Casper having a bad exit out of there, and Oshin gets back through. Luki also seeing if he can make his way through, doesn't manage to do so. The Mercedes driver of Casper already struggling on those soft tyres. He's still got another 8 more laps left to go, and he's already struggling. So I think Casper could be dropping down the order very soon, Jess.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Casper's going to be in a spot of bother, but don't forget, Jack, there's quite a few drivers that are still yet to box. Casper could get to the end, but I doubt he could get to the end on those soft compounder tyres. They will be crying for mercy towards the end, and they're going to hope that the rain is going to come any minute, any time. And I'm looking at the onboard shot to see if there's any drops of rain, but I doubt it. I'm going to make a prediction. If we don't get another safety car, I don't think the rain's going to come hard. Oh, she's round. Oh, she's round. No. He's had a good race and it's all come tumbling down. And we got a battle for the lead as Callum has got past. They're going to be switched positions, I'm sure. But Senna's going to have an opportunity to pounce. Senna has still got some damage, and bless him, he's trying to go for it. Casper on old soft. There we got Entity, Marco in this, Nick as well. There's just so much drama happening, and literally any one of those midfield could get on the podium. Lakitu's back in this as well. Casper doing a great job, as I saw a bit of front wing flying by. I did not know what went on there, but I think Lukey got mugged there. Lukey must be frustrated there with what went on there.
Yeah, that was his wing that went flying, a bit of his wing that went flying off. I think it was one of the Williams was pinching up against the right-hand side. And I don't think Lukey was expecting that, and he got tagged on on his front left, so he's now lost a bit of wing damage. He's now back behind his teammates. So, yeah, very unfortunate for Lukey. He's now going to be holding up both Oshin and Jonas Olbrecht. In fact, I think he's just letting the pair of them through, or at least letting Oshin through on that one. But, yeah, all of that battling, that's now allowing Craggy and Callum to just keep on going up ahead and just keep on extending that gap. Casper does inherit third place, but Nikita on those hard tyres compared to Casper's softs, I think really we're going to see, it's only a matter of time before we see the German overtake Casper out in front of him. But yeah, keeping it clean. Again, that's what I'm saying, keeping it clean. Look at where the two Williams have ended up. They were both down in, 12th and 13th or something like that. And Marco, especially, starting towards the back end of the grid, he's now up to 6th on those softs.
He can still get a podium.
There is a chance.
Yeah, he can still get a podium. So two of our predictions could be right. Nikita tries to go around the outside of Casper. Nikita with the grip on those halves. I did say watch out for Nikita. If you don't have to pit again, and if there's no rain that comes, Nikita could be the favourite to win this race, because the top two still yet to box, hoping for the rain to come any minute, any time, as Casper down the inside of Entity. No, hold on. Casper down the inside of Entity through, and he's chasing down Lakitu once more as Entity right on the back of Casper on those softs. I think Entity's going to have a really tough time to try and get past, because Casper is no tough cookie. He had a really bad race last week, and he wants to make sure that he can stay on the track with those soft compounder tyres. Entity's going to try and get a good run maybe in the end of the first set. So nope, he's not. He's staying put for now.
Yes.
What?
Rain's arrived.
Rain's arrived. Yep, I see it. Rain is coming down really thick and fast here. So what would you do? Would you pit now? Or would you stay out? I would stay out for about 1 or 2 more laps. This is good for the top two. This is great. This can help them. If they pit at the right time, those two could win this race. So if I was those two, work together, maybe get Lakita to be like a little guinea pig, and we'll see if Craggy can win this one. Oh, this is good for drivers who haven't done their second stop yet. This is great for them.
It's massive for them, but I tell you who else is also massive for is Entity, because the Q2 picked up a 3-second time penalty. If that rain doesn't come down hard enough, Entity is going to be inheriting the race lead. Akito, in fact, coming in, Craggy coming in, Callum and Arn coming in, Entity's going to follow suit. Casper is staying, Casper is staying out. Same with Marco. Both of those two have opted to try and stay out on the dry tyres. Those, yes. So we'll see if that's going to play dividends for them, or if it's, I mean, it's a big risk. It could be a big reward, or it could be a massive flop.
It's slippery already. Yeah. I'm looking at turn 2. I think we had that same debate in P2 when it was like this. You can't afford to you can't afford to double stack. You lose so much more time by staying out. You got to take that risk by double stacking. So at the moment, Callum is your net race leader, and he's already catching down. He's closing in on Barry like no man's land. This is crazy. So Callum is going to be going from 0 to hero in 1 week. He disconnected, had an issue on lap 1 last week, and he could be on to going to win the race and scoring more points to people that have finished in both races. But Callum is struggling. Craggy's looking very good right now. Oh, look at that. Marco and Casper are crawling through the middle sector.
The thing is, if you're looking at the instance, they don't look that much better than the dries. I was saying that Casper has just gone completely off at the end of the second sector.
I think no tyre is good, to be honest, right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look as if anyone wants to be driving around this track at the moment. But I'm sure as that rain keeps on falling down harder and harder, those dry tyres are just going to keep on getting worse and worse. And now we can start to see it. Callum and Arnd is now starting to gain onto the back of Barrett. Are we going to see those top 2 make their way in? Yes, we are. Marco, Casper coming into the pits. Nick also going to follow them into the pits. Barrett may inherit the race. I was saying that he has a little bit of a tank supper, taps the side of Callum and Arnd. Craggy's now going to see if he can go for a move on the Welshman, sorry, as Barrett now into the pits. Craggy and Callum and Arnd battling it out for the lead of the race. I think the Welshman's going to hold on ahead of the Aston Martin for now and holds on to the race lead. Lakitu's going to inherit 3rd, but the guys are coming out of the pit lane now. Where is Marco going to come out in relation to them? They're all side by side of each other, and I think he's going to inherit P6 at the moment. So with Lakitu's penalty, he will take up to 5th position. Senna managed to get his front wing. No, he didn't manage to change his front wing, so he has still got that right wing damage. It's going to impair him for the rest of this race. Marco needs to get a move on past him. And as I say that, he makes a massive mistake. Marco going around the outside of the teams. Wow.
To be fair, I did that in P2, and it felt so good trying to go around the outside on the S like that, because you're thinking, oh, should I do that? Should I not? He's just done it in the wet. That's even more impressive. The rain's coming down big and fast, so don't forget it's very wet. So it could be 4 wets before you know it. But these guys are not doing a bad job whatsoever. I think they're doing fantastic. I think Marco's the biggest good surprise after starting at the back. I think he's one of our tips for driver of the day so far, after coming so far down. Marco's going to try and get past his teammate in towards turn 22, but it's not going to do it to no ovation. I think the curve's going to be absolutely deadly so far. Marco's going to try and do Ascent of Dreams heading towards this back straight now. No DRS, so they have to get the move done now, because otherwise turn 1's going to be an absolute nail-biter for them right now. Lakitu and Craggy, they're going to be working together to try and get this right. Actually, no, it's between Callum and Craggy for the win. Lakitu has got to try and make sure that no one can respond to the Aston Martin's battles there. As Entity try and get past Lakitu in towards turn number 1. Late on the brakes, they make a bit of contact. Through towards turn 2 they go. It's going to be very tight for them once more. Marco's going to try and do the Send of Dreams. Could he make it through 3-1 in towards turn number 4? No, not quite. He's going to force to hold back for now. Senna, somehow, with a damaged front wing, is still within this fight, which is fair play to him, which just goes to show how good in the wet he really is.
Yeah, and he's doing a very, very good job as well in Entity, as you say, inherits now 3rd position. Marco with a penalty, so Senna will inherit a 4th position. In fact, he's trying to go for the move on Marco around the outside of the looping left-hander, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I was saying that, making the traction out of there, a little bit of wheel banging, but Senna has to back out of that one. Of course, Senna with that damage, Casper and Oshi behind them with penalties. Senna's the only one without a penalty within this 4th to 8th battle. So we'll see if Senna's going to be able to make up those 2 positions, or if he picks himself up a penalty as well, or more wing damage or what. But Entity is now looking like a clear-cut 3rd position unless he picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. But yeah, the top 2 still jousting it out. Callum and Arnd and Craggy for this race win. Craggy's dropped back a bit more from the Welshman out in front, and it's looking like Callum and Arm. I know he can be pretty good in that wet conditions. The centre, in fact, actually letting Casper go. I think he knows that because his teammates got the penalty, he's happy just sitting behind him, just following him. But again, it's just taking it easy, and he can make his way up into at least 4th position with all of that happening. But yeah, I think we're going to start to see some more moves go down in towards turn 1 as Marco trying to put up his ERS into hot lap, not going to be able to go for anything. I think even further down the grid, Jonas Albrecht looking to see if he can maybe go for a move on Nick. Or E9.
Oh no, Sheet's hit the wall! Oh, Sheet's hit the wall! He's got front wing damage! And his day's gone for back. Actually, no, I think he got away with that. But yeah, I think he lost a bit of his end plate, and he's struggling in the S's. And he's got another 3 second. He's trying to plant the car in the right place, and it's just not working. So that is his race over, unfortunately, which breathes a sigh of relief if you're the ones near O'Sheen with no penalties. And we've got another yellow flag in the background. Please don't tell me it's Mike just had a bit of a spin. No, but it's not Mike, actually. Mike's hit the wall. Okay, never mind. I think it was it was Kieran that had a bit of a spin. How is Kieran still on mediums? I don't know. But, yeah, that's probably why he's struggling there, Kieran.
I think it might be wet conditions, and I think that's what he might be opting to do. No, he's going on the inters. Never mind, ignore me on that one. But, yeah, Craggy dropped off now from Callum and Arndt. He must have had a bit of a moment on this lap because the Welshman, I keep saying Irishman, he's going to absolutely crucify me if I keep on saying that. No, Callum and Arndt is managing to get a bit of a gap to Craggy. I think Craggy's got a better straight line setup, but in terms of cornering, especially in the wet, I think Callum and Arndt is the one that's taking the cake for that one. Marco looking to see if he can go for a move on Nikita. Of course, even though they have their penalties, it's still imperative that the Williams does get past the Aston Martin, especially if they've both got the same amount of penalties. And here we go, Marco with his ERS now put him to overtake, goes for the move on the German on the final lap of the race now. And Marco gets himself up into 4th position. The battle for the top 2, though, is starting to heat up a bit more. Craggy is having a bit of a better sector than what Callum and Arndt is. But, of course, with that dirty air in the wet as well, not going to be easy for the Aston Martin to close up to the back of the Welshman. I think Callum and Arndt, as long as he keeps it nice and clean, doesn't make any mistakes coming through these final 2 sectors, I think we might see Callum and Arndt taking the win for this evening. And a little bit further back as well, Senna. Barry picks up a 10-second penalty for corner cutting. That's the first time I've seen a 10-second.
He's chucking it down
for corner cutting. And yeah, I think it is the full wet conditions for these guys. So they're going to be struggling a lot more as Entity looking to try and hold on from his teammate. Marco's got a better traction coming through the loop and left, but doesn't get the move done on the Williams. The top 2 still going at it. Craggy is closer than ever to Callum and Arndt now, coming up towards the final sector of the race. Of course, I say we're on the final lap as well. Who's going to be able to hold on to it? Craggy touches the wall on the inside, rides that curve on the outside as well. And I think that might have compromised him a bit too much because Callum and Arndt is quite away. But you can see the overtake. He's closing up to the back of the Welshman. Are we going to see a late lunge going in towards the final corner? No, we are not. Callum and Arndt holding it on the inside of the final corner. It's going to be a drag race up towards the line, but I think the Welshman has done it. Towards the end on round number 2, we are going to have another winner, and it is going to be Callum and Arndt to take the win for P1 around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Well done to Callum and Arndt on that one. Craggy taking 2nd position with Entity taking the top 3. Senna jumps up ahead of Marco with no penalties to his name. Well done to Senna, especially with that wing damage. Marco from the back of the grid takes 5th position. The key 2 and 6 with Casper in 7th. Jonas Albrecht also making his way up to 8th. Again, a bit of a very quiet race from him, and managed again keeping it clean. Puts it up to 8th position for him. Nick in 9th. Axelot, unfortunate, just a bit of a bad race from him, finishing in 10th. And Luki in 11th. Oshin taking a final points position in 12th. Hurry in 13th with Jason in 14th. Barry in 15th. Mike takes 16th. And we just wait for Kieran to cross the line. But that is the final pecking order of that one there, Jess. Callum, unarmed, taking, I think it might be his first race win since, I don't even think he picked one up last season. I think it might have even been from the season before.
Yeah, if someone could put that in the chat, that'll be absolutely lovely. That would help us massively. But Callum unarmed had disconnections galore, had technical issues galore last week, had some issues, did not, I retired after the 2nd lap, I was not expecting him to do well this week. He proved us wrong, and he's won a race. He's gone from 0 points to the full 20 points in this race. That just shows that you do not give up at One Hub Racing. You fail in round 1, but you bounce back in race 2. So if any drivers in any of the tiers have had a bad race 2 in Jeddah, well, Callum and Arms has proven that you can bounce back from a poor race the week before.
Certainly can, and I've actually just got confirmation. That's his first race win in One Hub. And around here...
Is it?
You know what? It is his first race win in One Hub. You know what? It's fair play. Fair play to Callum and Arm for taking that win. I told you, 6th place, he ends up winning the race. It is possible, and he made it work, and he made it happen. Well done, Callum, for that win. Craggy, like I say, taking an exceptional 2nd place. Good battling between the pair of them at the end as well. Just getting away from the rest of the guys battling it out behind. Entity from 5th, taking 3rd position. Senna, unfortunately, with that wing damage, compromised him significantly, but still finishing a nice 4th place after all of that as well. Marco from 17th on the grid, like I say, taking 5th position. Akiti's probably going to be kicking himself on that one, especially with the rain at the end. He was probably hoping that it wasn't arriving, because if it wasn't, that race win was his.
He does get the fastest lap point inside the top 10.
He does indeed. So it's at least a bit of a consolation prize for him on that one. Still taking the fastest lap within the top 10. Casper finishing in 7th, where he had started again, probably hoping for a bit of a better result on that one. Jonas Olbrook from 12th on the grid, putting it up into 8th. Well done to him for that one. Nick in 9th with Axelot, rounding out the top 10 again. Very disappointed for him in that respect. Lukey in 11th with Oshin, rounding out the top 12 and again picking himself up the actual fastest lap point as well. Hurry in 13th with Jason in 14th, Berry in 15th, Mike in 16th, Key in 17th, and our only DNF, which brought out that early safety car, S-Cargo, down at the back end of the grid. And I told you, we love a bit of chaos, and what a bit of chaos that has caused.
I like Jeddah.
I love Jeddah. You know, it's a great circuit, and again, I think that's proven that tonight. Callum, the wet specialist, taking his first ever win in One Hub. You gave me the opportunity to do it first last week, Jess. I'll give you the opportunity this time. Driver of the day. Who you going for?
This honestly, it's a tough one. You know, I never get a chance to do this. You know, I'm gonna go for the driver that crashed out in qualifying, breezed its way to P5, and just avoided all the chaos. Marco is going to be my driver of the day nomination, and my question is, congratulations on a superb result. But do you think you could have gone for the higher positions in this race if you didn't have that crash in qualifying? What about you?
I mean, for me, it's got to be the race winner from 6th on the grid. I don't think he was expecting to be winning that for this evening. He played the strategy perfectly by staying out. Him, Oshin, and Craggy all staying out. And again, it was a high risk, high reward. Played it perfectly. Came in at the right time. Came out at the right time. And it worked out in his favour. Question to Mr. Callum Unarmed. Your first race win in One Hub. How does that feel for you, my friend? And was you expect him to be winning around Jeddah for this evening? Because that looked like it was a bit of a chaotic race around him.
Chaos?
So,
a lot of chaos.
Just a bit. Just a little bit.
Well, I think we've had 2 stellar races in Imola and Jeddah, and we still got more races to go coming up next week. And we got, as we said earlier in the broadcast, our first sprint race in Qatar on the 23rd of February, and the top 10 will get reversed after the sprint race, and the top 10 in the sprint race will get points. So I wonder, from round 3, this could be the chance, if people want to get their engine and gearbox penalties done, because if you do it now and you don't DNF for the rest of the season, you can get to the end from there. So I think we could see quite a few drivers take their engine penalties there, in particular ones who think that they're not going to do well, that could technically start higher than expected due to that engine pen. Yeah,
no, they certainly could. So we'll see if who does end up taking it next week in terms of their engine pen. Of course, as you say, Qatar next week, the first sprint race of 3 of the season. Make sure you guys are tuning in for that one. And yeah, hopefully it's going to be a very, very chaotic race, or races, shall I say, for next week.
Yeah, make sure you join us same time at 7 o'clock. Final few thoughts of our sponsors before we have to go. Of course, Next Level Racing, sponsored by them. We got a lovely review video done by our very own Nick Egan. That'll be going out tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the, I think it's the FGT Lite that he got a nice review copy of. So massive shout out to Next Level Racing for giving him that, and he will show you his thoughts on that tomorrow at 6 p.m. in a video. And we also got, of course, Pure Sim Gear, 10% off discount code if you want to have a look. And combined poles and fastest laps will win a pair of Pure Sim Gear gloves or socks. Go get his Tough Award. Chance to win some 100 merch from Vespertine if you attend all the races during the season and complete all your media day stuff, as well as winning some lovely prizes in the process from Vespertine. And also, the winner of CamCase Driver Rankings will win a Pole Sitter Premium t-shirt. And without SimGrid, we will, again, as J. Cole said, we would have done it at Google Forms. So, J. Cole, any final thoughts before we wrap up for this evening?
2 different winners and 2 different tracks. Hopefully that's a sign that we're going to see some different winners throughout the season, and let there be rain.
I want it to be rain as well. I want it to be rain as well. These guys are going to kill me otherwise. But there we go. So I've been Jess Ball. He's been Jack. We will see you next week for P1 at 7 o'clock. Mike and Colin will see you at 5 p.m. for the P2 tier around Qatar. It's going to be electric. We've had 2 great races tonight. Will we see a 3rd different winner from 3 races? Will we see 6 different winners from... actually, no, I'm doing my maths wrong. Never mind. Will we see 4 different... I don't know. It is about time if we wrap up there before I confuse myself even more. Take care, everyone. Have a good evening, and we'll see you same time next week for the Qatar Grand Prix. Bye-bye.